How do you feel?
It was harder than I thought, and I run marathons, so that says a lot. But it's great to get the body moving, and I like how we combine yoga, dance, and every element, and my body is feeling like all the muscle are feeling it.
Yay!
Vriko,
Abby,
welcome to Moves, Sweat, Discover. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
thank you so much for having me.
Okay, we're just gonna dive straight in. So I'm gonna do a little intro for people that don't know who you are. So this is Vriko Kwok. I'm gonna run through a list, okay? So don't be shy. You've done a lot. So Vriko is a Hong Kong Jiu-Jitsu champion. She's the co-founder of Herbs Oil, a Hawaiian brand designed to improve hair loss and sensitive skin. Co-founder of, now correct my pronunciation, Norwish.
Yes, you're right.
Norwish, okay, which is billed as weightless nourishment for fine and thinning hair. One of the youngest TEDx speakers in Hong Kong. A mentor for Facebook's She Means Business, which is a fellowship program which focuses on enhancing the digital agility of female-led businesses.
Wow, you did your research.
A Lululemon ambassador. And you also sit on the Global Ambassador Board for IDEA, which is inclusion, diversity, equity, and action. And ultra marathoner. Wow. How do you feel when you listen to all of that?
It still feels unreal, especially the last one. I mean, I started running last year, and I couldn't believe that a year later I'm an ultra marathoner.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's just an incredible list of achievements. When I was kind of going through researching, I was like, okay, I know a little bit about you. So I was like, yes, co-founder, and I was like, okay, this list is getting long. I had to stop at ultra marathoner. You're making the rest of us look bad.
No.
Usually I start off the podcast by kind of talking about the workout that we've just done and then our kind of takeaways from that. But I'm going to do things a little bit differently today.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are going to start with you.
Okay.
Your journey, your story, and because I just find it super inspiring.
Aww.
So let's dive in. You were born and raised in Hong Kong.
Yes.
You studied in Norway.
Yes.
Before starting your first business at age 21.
Yes.
So I just got to ask, did you always have that kind of entrepreneurial spirit in you? And how did you create your brands and kind of go into that area of hair and skincare?
Thank you for the question. I think I do always feel like I'm very entrepreneurial because of my dad. He is a very successful businessman, and also my grandfather. So I think I do take some of that. But it's funny how I think during my teenage year, I always thought that I was going to be a writer or something.
Oh, wow.
I was very into art. I was very into literature, and I actually studied translation. And then when I studied in Norway, I studied Scandinavian politics, which are completely unrelated to business. But then I think what really prompts me to start my first business in the last year of college was the fact that I think I've always been a very curious person. And traveling is one of my biggest passion. And being studied in Norway and get to backpack through Europe, that just opens my eye to the world, where then I was I remember this conversation before I graduated university. I was talking to my professor, and my professor was like, "Oh, so what's your plan after, you graduate?" And I was like, I for sure know I'm not going to do a 9-to-5 job, because I'm not going to tie to a desk, because I want to travel the world. I want to do things on my own terms. And little did I know, 12 years later now, starting your own business, running your own business means that you work more than 9-to-5 because you're working 24/7, but there's no regret. My first business, actually, the first business was an online women's clothing like business,
Okay.
which failed within 3 weeks. I lost almost all of my saving. And then because I studied in Norway, Bergen to be exact,
Mm.
I had a return ticket to go back to Bergen. So I actually went back and worked at the fish market
Okay.
for 5 months to save up, to pay for my debt, and started my second business when I was in the fish market, which then turned into my first successful company.
Okay.
Yep.
What were your kind of takeaways from the first business failing and then kind of using that to go into the next one?
Of course, like the business itself fail, but I think the lesson that I took from it still applies to how I run my business today, which is you need to, like, if you notice that something is wrong, like you just have to face it head on. And then you just, like, if it is wrong, it's wrong. It's okay. You just wrap it up and then move on.
Yeah.
I failed my first business. And then immediately, I think after a week, I did the math and I was like, okay, this is how much I've left. I'm going to put it into my next business idea. And I started the business and I just move on from there.
What was the second business?
So it's called Poupée de Papier. It is a handbag company. It's a handbag label. So we design everything in Paris. We work with designer in Paris and then manufacture in Asia. And it was my first successful company, I guess. Yeah.
So then how did you segue from fashion, I guess, to kind of skincare? Well,
I think it was like the changes was like, of course, on a professional level, people see that, oh, I jump from fashion to personal care. But then I think on a personal level, at the time, I was going through a lot of health issues. Like I was working 19 hours a day, at my first successful startup. And then I couldn't even like took a flight of stairs without losing my breath. And I was only 23, 24 at the time. I weighted almost 300 pounds.
Okay.
And I didn't work out at all.
Yeah.
And I was like, one day I woke up and I was like, there's no longevity in this. Like no matter how hard I work out, I would not be able to enjoy any of the fruition of my neighbor. So let's just change that. And I woke up and I just changed my like lifestyle. I went to Muay Thai for the first time and I didn't stop. I was just like doing Muay Thai 6 days a week for like the next 3 years. And I think because of that mentality, I switched really from fashion to personal care because I wanted to do something that actually give back to the community. And I'm not bashing fashion for
Sure.
not being it, but like at the time when I started Herbs Oil with my business partner Tata, we really couldn't find products that work on our skin. That's number one. But number two, more importantly to us, is that most of the products or company in the market seems to be about changing who you are as a person. Like they like to spotlight how imperfect you are. Like that's why you need to change. We want to bring something different. And and that was the reason why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was your kind of motivation behind Herbs Oil?
I think when we started, like my business partner Tata just gave birth to her second child, who's my god kid, like Conrad. He was suffering from severe eczema. So the honest answer to your question is that at the time we were living in Hawaii, and then we just couldn't find anything that could help Conrad.
Yeah.
So we were very lucky. Like one day we were just like going to local Hawaiian tour, and then we met this soap maker.
Yeah.
And she's, I think, in her 60s or 70s already. She just randomly gave us a piece of soap, and then it, like overnight, Conrad's skin was completely fine. And then we used the soap on our
wow.
skin, and it was just magical. And then we persuade her, asked that if she could work with us, and we just start from one soap, and 8 years later we're here, and then we just launched at Sephora last week.
Amazing. Congrats.
Thank you.
You mentioned Muay Thai. How did you kind of come across that and get into that?
I think, God, in a way, being in business, I think I was very stressed to a point where I didn't know I was so stressed.
Yeah.
And Muay Thai, just by all the punching and kicking, to me was the perfect outlet. Like I was just
Absolutely.
going into the song, kicking, punching, get everything out of me, and then I go home and I go back to work again.
There's something
So
to be said about just hitting something,
I
letting out
know.
that kind of, pent up aggression, isn't there?
Yeah. And it's funny how so I started with Muay Thai
Mm.
and then I was introduced to HIIT, like weight training, all that, and I
Yeah.
got into MMA, and that's how I got into jujitsu. And I feel like it is going from sort of like Muay Thai is very repetitive. Like,
Mm.
you're using blunt force almost. Then I feel like as I age, I go into jujitsu and it's sort of like a control violence.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Um, how did the connection between yourself and Lululemon come about?
It's because of a broken yoga pants.
Okay.
Have you heard this story?
No, I haven't.
So we actually like met through Lululemon.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think it was so I started Muay Thai, I got into MMA, and then at the time I was working out 6 days a week. So I've always done like I always love yoga. So yoga has always been maybe every week I would do 2 to 3 times just to balance out all the other
Yeah.
aggressive things that I do. And then so one day I show up at a studio, I was doing aerial yoga. And as I flip upside down, my pants broke. So the Vriko that of course, I asked my classmate to like take a picture of me and I posted on Instagram. I was like, look at me. I work out so much that my pants broke. So it was not a Lululemon pants.
Right.
So a Lululemon educator, Cherry, who actually also is a long-term customer at Herb Soil. She saw it and then she invited me to the store, asked me to trial the products. And ever since then, I only wear Lululemon pants to work out.
You're a convert straight away. And so let's talk Lululemon and your journey with them. So you an ambassador for when did you get invited to become an ambassador?
So I started in 2019 with IFC, so Lululemon IFC team. Yeah. So I started as a store ambassador. And then through the years, I think, I started out doing a lot of community events. And because of my work with Facebook, which, they changed their name now, is Meta. So because of my work with Meta, I started connecting the community. And I think one of the things that I truly appreciate of the partnership that I've built over the years are that all of the partners that I have the honor to work with, they are all very community driven. They care about the people, may it be Lululemon or Meta. So because of my work, with the fellowship program, I started connecting local female startup with Lululemon community. And then, I did that, and then I got invited to be part of the IDEA board, which stands for Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Action.
Yeah.
Then that was my first introduction to the global Lululemon team. And then last year, they're very kind. They invited me to be part of an initiative called Further, which is the 6-day ultra marathon. But behind it, it is also in collaboration with Canadian Sport Institutes. And they basically took the last year and a half to study all 10 of us because less than 6% of the world's sports science research is centered around women. And Lululemon and CSI really want to change that. And I'm just so grateful to be part of it.
Yeah, I want to kind of go deeper into that part of your journey. But I want to kind of go back and ask you, why is community so important to you? What is the kind of drive behind that?
A very simple answer, I think, is I remember when I stepped into the Muay Thai gym. God, how many years ago now? 8, 9 years ago. And I felt so vulnerable because all my life I never worked out. Like I was bullied
Yeah.
very heavily in school for being bigger. And I remember, at the school sports day, the bully would always yell like "elephant incoming, pow pow pow!" Like
Ah,
so, like
yeah.
all of that trauma. Like, of course, through my ultra marathon journey, I unpack a lot of that. But I remember walking into that studio with that trauma, and I remember showing up feeling like, my God, like what am I doing here? I didn't feel belong at
Yeah.
all. And it was my gym buddies, it was my coaches that make me feel like I could do something that not in a million years I
Yeah.
would see myself doing. And I think that is a very big driver on my, active movement journey, which is it was the people that brought me along.
Yeah.
And of course, it extends to many aspects of my life, even in business. Yes, it is a business. We're doing skincare, we're doing hair care, but more importantly, it is about the people. Because I could just sell you lousy products and it's just a high and buy relationship,
Yeah.
but we're building community because we want to do goods for others.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That really resonates with me, actually. I was also bullied as a kid, and like when you're in your gym class or whatever, and they're like picking teams, and I was always the one that got picked last because I was like a little bit smaller, a little bit skinnier, and like I remember back then thinking like one day I am gonna be somebody to these people. And that was a big motivator for me, switching kind of careers and gears into fitness and wellness at a time when I felt like I was like pretty active and that I was kind of strong, and then I became like a fitness instructor. So that was like kind of like my driver, like to not have that connection as a young kid with people, with like your peers, to now like wanting to kind of connect with other people, myself as well. So yeah.
I just want to say that, to be like, I am someone who have taken your class, and I know that you are one hell of a good fitness instructor.
Thank you. We'll touch upon that class experience later. But let's go back to the ultra marathon. So you were invited to join this initiative.
Yeah.
And there was 10 other women?
There are 9 other women,
Okay.
so including me, there
Yeah.
are 10 of us. And
what was their backgrounds?
so it's funny, like all of my teammates, I describe them as superwoman.
Yeah.
Like they're just a team of badass that do, like they're great at running, but outside of running, they're just phenomenal. Like they are so multiverse in everything that they do in life, and I have so much respect and love for them. And it's funny, when I step into the room for the first time, it was a further orientation.
Yeah.
I felt the same as day one walking into that gym
Oh,
studio
wow,
again,
yeah.
because I was the only one who is a new runner. I had no running background.
Okay.
So when they invited me to be part of Further last March,
Yeah.
I couldn't even run 1 kilometer continuously.
What was going through your head when they asked you to do this race?
Honestly, I remember the first Zoom call. They were like, "Oh, hey, Vriko, tell us about your relationship with run." And I was like,
I know what it is.
well, the furthest I ran is 5K. The bracket is like, I couldn't even run 1K continuously. But then I think what was really going through my head was that, okay, so I think my mentality really changes from when I started the journey to mid to then doing the ultra marathon. When I took on this project, I was really hoping to show up for people that look like me. Because growing up, I never see myself in sports.
Yeah.
Like I never see myself in the space because there's no one like me.
Yeah.
I'm bigger, I'm slower, and I thought that, you have to be good to show up, like to be the representation of something, right? So I really wanted to do that. And I think underneath all of that, I also wanted to unpack. I know I needed to unpack some of the trauma I have with
Yeah.
running. And So I took it on. A lot of people ask me, what were you thinking?
Was it like an easy decision for you to make, or did you
Yes.
have okay?
It's funny. Like I don't know what got into me. They asked me, what do you think about 6 days? And I was like, as long as it's flat, we can make it work.
Yeah.
So, like I think, again, back to, I've always been a very curious person.
Yeah.
And the whole ultra marathon thing, to me, at first, I just really want to get through on the other side and see, okay, let's test out my potential. Because running has always been my biggest fear.
Right.
Like I was bullied, and when I started training for Muay Thai, I tried to run. And I was just running around the stadium. And I remember how I want to just sprint as fast as I can. And I couldn't even last for, 300 meters.
Yeah.
So I try. And I actually gave running a try many, many times.
Okay.
But I failed. But still, I was like, you know what? If we're going to try it, let's try it big. And let's give it 11 months, give it my all, and see how it goes.
I can see that you're someone that, you learn from your mistakes, like your businesses, right? Your failed businesses, you're kind of picking that up and then kind of keep on going. Which is...
I laugh because I was going to say, oh, you learn from your mistakes of failing so many times and you still go back.
But that's how we grow, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's how we go.
So take me through the training process. Was that enjoyable? Were you like, what did you learn? What were your biggest kind of takeaways from that?
Okay, so we need to go back to April.
Yeah.
So I took on the project, and then Lululemon flew us in to Vancouver to do like we were doing fitting, we were doing like body scan. They just want to basically take all of our starting point stacks, and they found out that I have severe anemia.
What?
Yeah, because so basically my hemoglobin level, like normal hemoglobin level, should be 130.
Yeah.
I was at 70.
Okay.
And the doctor was basically saying how normal human being at this stack should be bed resting. They probably couldn't, like going up a flight of stairs would be difficult.
Yeah.
And I just started trail running the day before.
Right.
And then he was basically saying how my body was overtrained. You're extremely exhausted, and then you have anemia, and then it was your mind that was like basically autopiloting me to go through all of my day-to-day, and I couldn't believe it. So that was the start of my training, which was discovering that I have that. We had 2 iron transfusion.
Oh my gosh.
And then I started my training. So one of my teammates, Stephanie Flippin, she's very kind, Steph. She offered to be my coach. And we started with just 1 walk interval because, again, I couldn't run 1 kilometer continuously to start with, right?
Yeah.
I was taking a lot of walk break as I gear myself into at least 5K continuously. And it took me, 6 or 7 weeks to run 1K continuously. And then from there, I was training 30 hours every week because I had to finish my miles, and then I still have to do my, weight training for my lower body.
Yeah.
I had to do physio. I also added yoga to make sure that my back is
Yeah.
good. So altogether in 11 months, I ran 2,700 kilometers.
Impressive.
To prepare myself. And then I went from not being able to run 1 kilometer to finish a 50K, like a single day 50K. And then I ran 3 races before I get to the start line.
That's very impressive.
It was one of the hardest things that
Yeah.
I have to do, because not just the physical part, but we talk a lot about the unpacking of
Yes.
trauma, right? So to me, running, it is healing, but at the same time, it is hard because I enjoy being busy.
Yeah.
And running, all you do is just you move your body, and then your mind just started to wander.
Yeah.
And then you started to think about the past. You started to think about what am I doing? And then you started you started to be a little bit worried about the future almost. And then so it was 2,700 kilometers of that. Just me and my running shoes.
Yeah.
And it was difficult in a sense where I had to face a lot of my past trauma and to not overcome, but to be okay with it,
Yeah.
to be able to live with them and to go into the start line feeling like I'm not here for other people, I'm here for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it must have been super heavy throughout that whole period of time. What were you kind of doing for yourself almost? Like, how did you balance all of that out?
So I actually moved to closer to the country part so that I can do like a lot of my daily training uphill and downhill, like doing all the loop. It was a big commitment.
Okay.
And I think being in the nature really
Yeah.
helps.
Yeah.
And I'm a dog person.
Okay.
You know me.
Yes.
I have 5 dogs.
5.
I have 5. I'm about to have the 6th one next week.
Oh, wow.
Yes. They are all rescues. And,
Okay.
the fact that really switching my gear, I was getting up every day at 4 or 5 a.m. to start my training because you know how hot Hong Kong can be.
Yeah.
So I will always get up early, 4 to 5, and then I just bring my dogs. We run up to the country park, and then we run back down. And I think having that, despite how hard it is physically or sometimes mentally, knowing that I show up for me and knowing that I'm trying to be a better person. And also looking back, I'm really happy that I got to take that hours just for me and I got to spend it with my dogs or my partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were the lighter moments throughout this? It sounds very taxing and heavy. And
I mean, I'm not like, this show is not about telling you off your marathon training. No. I think I was talking about, I keep saying I think, my teammates. Running, after a year of running, looking back, it was the people that kept me going.
Yeah.
And a very big portion of it, of course, like my partner and my crew, but also my teammates.
Yeah.
I talk about how incredible they are. Like Devin, Steph, Montana, Myrna, Kayla. They're all wonderful human beings that kept me going. I remember one time, it was my first attempt to run a half marathon distance at trainings. And I look at the training schedule, I was like, 21 kilometers. Like I couldn't, like I struggled to get to 17 at the time. And I wrote Devon's name on my hand.
Oh.
Because she inspired me so much, not because I think she holds the most sub-3 finish like record in the world.
Yeah.
Like she's fast. Like her Instagram handle is fast foodie. She's just so fast. She runs so elegantly, and I look up to her. So I remember the first trail run. The first time I met her, we ran together in the forest, and and then it's gone.
Yeah,
and then, but she's such a wonderful friend. Like she doesn't. I felt small walking into a room full of amazing athletes that holds marathon records, like trail run records, ultra records, but never once did they make me feel small.
Yeah.
And
that's beautiful.
They picked me up. And I remember the day when I wrote Devon's name on my hand as I trained for that half marathon. She sent me back a picture saying that I actually have your hand. I have your name written on my hand as I start my training today as well. Because very often, I think, especially the fact that I'm in business, we easily forget that between like one human and another, it was not the achievement that defines us. It is our shared experience. It is the fact that we're all showing up for our version of the best that connects us. And of course, I could never beat Stephens in terms of running.
Yeah.
But our love for each other, our support for each other transcends all of those numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It always comes back again to connection and kind of your tribe, your community, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yes.
Let's go to the actual race. Tell me, like, when you went into it, were you feeling like, yes, I've got this, I'm ready? Was it ever that kind of mentality? Or again, I'm just going to show up and do my best, and this is for me, this is for,
I promise you, I come into here, I'm going to give you the unfiltered answer. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give you that. The night before I got to the start line, I was talking to my partner, Nick.
Mm.
I was like, do you think I could do this? Like the furthest I ran at the time was 50K.
Yeah.
Like, so one single day, 50K. So my goal going into further is to do 1 ultra a day, 6 days in a row.
Mm.
So 50K times 6. I tell myself, I'm going to claw to that 300K mark. I'm going to do this. But the honest answer is, I went into this race really scared and worried because I've never done it. It is a big unknown. What if I injure myself day one?
Yeah.
What if I trip myself? What if I just my body just gave up on me? Well, like, how would I look? I trained so hard, so openly for 11 months, almost for the world to see, like, hey, I'm trying to do this. I'm going to do this. But what if I fail? So I was going in with a lot of worries. Like, I felt so unconfident.
Yeah.
At the starting line. I was like, okay, we're doing this, but I'm not sure. But I show up anyway because,
Yeah.
Lululemon was so kind. Like, so each of us could bring 7 crew members with us. So I got my 7 crews here and I have my teammates here.
Yeah.
We're at the starting line. We're doing this. I didn't feel ready.
Yeah.
But I show up. And the conversation I had with my dad before the start line was that I was texting my dad. I was like, Dad, I'm gonna start the ultra tomorrow morning. It's gonna be a 6 days event, and in my head, I was dedicating each day of the race to one person in my life, and the first day was for my dad.
Oh.
So I was like, Dad, like tomorrow's race is for you. Like, you inspire me. And, the fact that, because my dad is in infrastructure construction. So the fact that we were running in the desert, like very dusty and all the sand flying around, it reminds me of him as well. And I remember him saying this to me. He was like, 無愧於心. That's what he said in Chinese, which then translate into, you just need to do this with no, and come out with no regrets.
Yeah.
Give it your all, and it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And of course, that didn't help. I still show up feeling worried, but yes. Yeah.
And were there moments during the race where you were like, no, done?
So never once in the race did I think of giving up.
Okay.
So during the 6 days, there were many hard times. But no, I knew even if I have to claw, I would get to that finish line.
Yeah.
But then there was a particularly very dark time that I think it was also showcased on social media. I was very much delayed on day 3 in terms of progress because, 50K a day, right? But of course, the chart is not going to be like 50, 50, 50, 50. Day 1, you're at your best shape. So you'll probably bank 65.
Yeah.
And then day 2, day 3, we're conservative. And then we try to bank more as we go. Injury prevention was the biggest thing, right? First 4 days. And day 3, I was running from 5 a.m. to maybe 1 or 2 p.m. So I was already running for so many hours that day. Day 3, my body started to give out on me. Everywhere hurts. And I had to get to 100 miles that day, 160 kilometers. Otherwise, there's no way I could get to 300K. And I remember for the first time I went past that water station, I broke down.
Yeah.
I sat down in the station and I just started crying
Yeah.
because that goal felt so far away from me.
Yeah.
And it was Montana, my teammate, that ran past the station and she grabbed me out. And then after we passed the pit stop, she let all of my teammates know how weak and how vulnerable I was at that state. All of my teammates dropped their goals in the next 2 laps because I was 2 laps away from 100 miles.
Right.
And then they all dropped their goals and they ran me to the 100 miles mark together.
Gosh.
And that was my lowest low to my highest high.
I was going to say.
Because before that point, all I was thinking about was, what if I fail?
Yeah.
How would I look?
Yeah.
But that moment taught me this one very important thing, which is the race was never about the numbers, the milestone. It was about the people. And the fact that I got to do this with my teammates, because all 10 of us are going for the best version of ourselves.
Yeah.
We are pushing our potential. And this is what we are doing. And as long as I keep showing up to this, doesn't matter if I could get to 300K or not.
Yeah. So, it's so beautiful to hear.
Oh.
Yeah. I love it.
It was so hard. And then lots of people know about that part of the story because it was showcased on social media.
Yeah.
But what people didn't know was that right after the 100 miles mark, I was at my highest high, right?
Yeah.
But I had already ran, 12 hours by the time I get to the 100K mark, 100 miles mark. And then I only took maybe an hour break. And then my crew did all of the math. And they were like, Vriko, you have to go back out. You have to run at least 5 more laps because each lap is 4.11 kilometer.
Yeah.
It is a loop. And then you have to run 5 more laps before we call it a day. Otherwise, like all that is for nothing. Like, we wouldn't be able to get to where we want to go. And then I was throwing tantrum. I was crying. And then like, I only had this one very like big temper moment once in the race, and that was the day. So after my highest high, I was at my lowest low, and I was just like mad at everyone. I was crying, and then I was just grabbing my water, and I was just walking in the lab in the dark. But I finished another half marathon after that, and then to go into day 4, and eventually I finished the race, and I got to 303 kilometer. Yeah.
It's very impressive. Such a roller coaster. I mean, to sum it up, what would you say, like knowing everything that you kind of gone through with this whole experience, what would you say to anyone that's kind of wanting to dive into something
big?
Yeah.
People have asked me similar questions, and I always say, because going into this race, all I was thinking about was, what would other people think of me if I fail? What if I don't get to 300K? But then if I could transport myself back to day 1 of the race, I would tell myself, forget about all of that. Just be in the zone, be in this moment, because I would give anything to go back to day 1.
Yeah.
That was the greatest adventure of my life. It was just so, it was the connection with my teammates. It was the love from my crew. It was just everything in Palm Springs, during that course, how everyone come together to push for human potential. And I think that translates into a lot of great adventures in life where we could so zoom into the future all the time. Like we want to think about what if, we want to think about, oh, da da da. But we very often forget about the beauty of presence.
Yeah.
Like I would always remind myself that, because taking my experience from further, that being in this moment right now, honestly, is the biggest gift. And that is my biggest lesson. But I think to take that and go into a more realistic level, I think taking on something big is, again, very taxing on the body and on the mind. And ultimately, you could only do that and come out in one piece if you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And the very big changes between further and all the other endeavors before further was that further was the first time I really put my wellness first when it comes to taking on something big. Like before, I told you, right? I started my first company and then I was working 19 hours a day. And that's how I got myself into that kind of health scare. And then I thought that, oh, wow, like, you know, I'm training now, I'm fit, you know, I'm doing 6 days training every week. And then I was overtrained and I got myself into a state where I had severe anemia. And then I took on this ultra marathon at such a low point in my health that I realized, while I want to challenge myself to do something big, I still have to put myself first in order to come out of it still healthy. So while I'm very grateful that I achieved my goal of running 6 days of ultra marathon, finishing with 303K, I'm more grateful that I come out intact. I came out healthy and I came out feeling so happy and so accomplished. And that, honestly, is thanks to my crew. Like Rebecca and Chris, they did so much to make sure that I come out healthy.
What would you say your biggest takeaway from this whole experience is?
I'm not going to be humble, because I feel like after 11 months of training and that 6 days in the desert, I'm just going to say it, which is my biggest lesson is that you give it all, you give it your all, and then you try your very best. And then the fact that you are able to do something great, it feels amazing. And you should take credit for that.
Absolutely.
Because I think from the start of it, which is, I thought that I'm doing it for other people. And I felt small going into the running space. And coming out of it, I'm not an egoistic person. I'm not like, oh, like, look at me, how good I am. No, not that. But there's beauty in taking on something that is unknown, that you know you're not good at. You would feel vulnerable, but to conquer that, you take away not just the achievement, but the lessons of knowing yourself and your potential better. And I'm a big believer that we own it to ourselves to find out what is our greatest potential. And we all deserve to live life to our fullest. Yeah.
I mean, we're going to go from ultra marathon to little class that we've done together. So we've probably worked out a handful of times, I guess. Yeah. I don't
Through Lululemon.
Through Lululemon. I think one of the earliest ones that I remember is in Singapore. We did yoga.
Yes.
Yeah. But I'm sure we've done plenty more before that or in and around that time. Do you recall that class at all?
Oh, like in Singapore?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember that. And it was actually very fun. I remember Rebecca was there as well, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. It was also like you know, I went in thinking that it is a yoga class, but if I came out feeling like that was more like a HIIT class.
Yeah, I agree. It was a hot class, right?
Yeah,
Was
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I remember we took this selfie
Yeah.
at the classroom mirror before we head out
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
It was fun.
Do you remember like how you felt or like what you learned about or observed about yourself during that class?
Um, I always say that I'm a very flexible person
Mm.
because I did ballet back in the days, and then I think I still preserve some of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
flexibility from there. And of course, I do yoga every now and then. So every time I walk into a yoga class, I feel relatively confident
Okay.
than like going into other classes. Um, and then and then I realized that when I go into a class assuming that like your flexibility is not like it's gonna help you,
Yeah.
but then yoga is more than that. Like it's about holding. It is about not just the strength, like because I feel like I'm the type of person that, okay, if I can hold on to this, I'll give it my all. Okay, it's 24 hours, I can do this.
Yeah.
But then sometimes that is not that.
Yeah.
And yoga always teaches me the strength of softness.
I like that.
And despite the fact that I went into class thinking that, I'm flexible, I can do this, I think that class taught me a lot of how I need to lean into the strength of the softness instead of just thinking that
Yeah.
or holding this.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. Do you remember, it's a while ago, a couple years ago, but do you
Yes.
remember or observing anything about me?
Oh, you're so good. Like I remember every time we work out together, I can't, like, even the class we did last Saturday.
Yeah.
Like I can't help but to admire every time you move your, like, honestly, it's not just the teaching,
Sure.
but the fact how like how you move with such grace and confidence.
Oh.
And I always admire that.
Okay.
And I want to compliment you in a not perfect, like I'm not trying to be a perfect, but the fact that it was the movement, it was also the line of your body, like everything just comes together so nicely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was a couple of years ago that we did that yoga class, and last Saturday, you came to one of my classes. You came to Family Form, which is a heated sculpt class, which is kind of like, I guess, to explain it to someone completely new to it, it's like a bit of yoga, a bit of Pilates, a bit of dance, all mixed in together. Kind of like to call it like a moving meditation.
I wasn't meditating.
Coming out of it, what did you learn about you?
That I need to do more Pilates. Maybe I need to dance every now and then. No, like it was actually it was difficult for me, like that class, because I, despite all the workout that I do, I feel like I'm very much a blunt force kind of person. That my hands and my legs, they just don't work together. So I remember the movement of just like going into that and then kicking up. All that is fine.
Yeah.
Until then you have to swing back like you were dancing, and then you have to go back again. There's a
it's
rhythm
like a flow.
to it.
Yeah.
I'm not a very flowy person. So it was difficult. But then by doing that, I always tell myself this: when you're doing something that's new to you, that your brain automatically tells you that, you're not comfortable doing this, this is new. I always remind myself that there's beauty in everything we do.
Yes.
Yeah. And I try to just look at what you do. Actually, if you look back at the tape, I was looking at you a lot.
I mean, you have to.
Yeah. Because I was like, okay, what are we doing? Okay. And then, but usually we do it in a set of 5 to 10, right?
Something like that.
Something like that, right? And then I would say like 60% of my movement are not very in sync, but the last couple of ones I could feel it, and it feels great.
Yeah.
Going through the journey of unknown and at least come out knowing that I at least got one right.
Did you learn anything new about me in this class?
Like I didn't know, like I know that you're good at teaching, but I didn't know that you know what, actually during Family Form, when you teach, because you're not giving out too much instruction,
Yeah.
right? You're very into the zone of like, okay, I'm doing this, sort of like demonstrating instead of
Yeah.
teaching.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how good you are, even because I know you're great at HIIT,
Yeah.
you're great at weight training, because that's how that's how I
Yeah.
know you for. But I didn't realize how good you are in like Pilates and dance movement too. Like I know you're good at yoga because we did yoga class together. I
Yeah.
know you're relatively flexible,
Yeah.
but yeah, and you're a good teacher.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It was a fun experience having you in class, actually. I'm always very nervous whenever I have friends or like people that I know like well in my sessions, just because especially with family form, I have to kind of command the space. I have to command the room and make sure that everyone's kind of like doing the correct movements without me actually coming over, right? So I'm very nervous whenever it's someone that I know.
Actually,
Yeah.
so I would say one thing I noticed from like that class was the fact that despite me not following, like not being able to follow most of the movement,
Yeah.
I didn't feel uncomfortable.
Okay.
Because
That's good.
yeah, like it was very zen, it was very peaceful, and the fact that everyone is just really focusing on their own mat and doing their own thing,
Yeah.
that didn't make me feel uncomfortable, which is great for a space that you're building at family form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I haven't scared you off then.
Nah. Nah.
We can work out together
Yes.
again. Okay.
Maybe you come to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love that. That's a space that I would be uncomfortable in because it's new to me. I don't
Most
yeah.
people.
Yeah. It seems like quite a how do I say this? Masculine space.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But actually, I think Hong Kong is picking up. Like a lot of girls started doing it,
Yeah.
and then the art of jujitsu is that you can like use softness, and
Yeah.
small can defeat massive great challenges as well,
Yeah.
and it's very much about that. So
Yeah.
sizes don't matter.
Yeah.
Huh?
I found in both of those classes that we've kind of talked about, the yoga and family form, what I noticed about you is that you observe, like you soak things in before committing to going forwards. And I feel like that's you down to a T in life, really.
Yeah.
A bit?
Yeah.
Or no?
Well, yes, because the thing is, first and foremost, I think, like especially family form, I'm just not too confident going into that. But then I would observe. I would never reject something.
Yeah.
I'll observe, and then I'll try to do my version of it. I would, try my very best.
Yeah.
I think try my very best and
Yeah.
show up and try my very best is my motto.
It's a good one. It is a good one. All right. I think we're pretty much out of questions, but I do want to end with a lightning round.
Okay.
So we end off, just don't think too much about your answers, just straight away.
I need to
kind
sip of water.
of just dive straight in. All right. Easy. We'll start with an easy one. Go to sweat.
Jiu-jitsu.
Oh, nice. Okay. Go to treat meal. We say treat. We don't say cheat because we're not cheaters.
Okay. Cookies.
Oh, any particular brand or like
I like
make
cookie
your own?
fissions.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one. Go to skincare product.
Oh, herb soil.
Oh, which particular one?
I love the SRS mask. We won actually Cosmopolitan Best Sheet Mask last year for it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and when
hydrating or
it's hydrating,
Okay.
brightening. It's very soothing, but most importantly, that product is so funny because the day I took on further, we actually had our sales, like record sales day.
Oh, wow.
We sold 8,000 pieces in 24 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
SOS mask.
SOS mask.
Okay. Good to know. Go to hair care product. This is obviously tailor it to you?
Oh, we didn't pay for that.
No.
Nourish, you can shop it on Sephora Hong Kong now. Scalp
Okay.
Retreat regenerating shampoo, and the hair oil is pretty good too.
Okay, so actually, we're gonna break out of the lightning round a little bit. So I'm gonna talk about like hair care.
Not gonna complain.
No. So for someone that's like a little bit like worried about like hair loss, what what can you recommend?
Oh, because I work out so much.
Yeah.
I'm very confident to say that like the Nourish shampoos are great
Okay.
because we had a fermented raspberry in it that contains 38 times more lactic acid than normal extract. So it just it exfoliates your scalp in a very gentle way, so that it's boosting your scalp health. In turn, you're gonna have less hair loss, and it also stimulates hair growth too.
Okay. And Sephora, you say?
It's Sephora
You didn't
Hong
pay for
Kong.
that. Okay, just remember that. Okay, go to stress reliever.
Yoga.
Nice. Go to morning routine. We didn't talk about routines, but
Okay.
yeah.
Usually just take my boys, like my dogs, and then we'll just run up to the country park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. A little bit of movement. Go to coffee order.
Coffee order, ice americano.
Okay. Nice. Go to self-care ritual.
I think I meditate.
Okay. Do you use like a guided app, or are you just Zen Panda?
Can we do this question and answer again? I can't believe I say I think I meditate.
You believe you meditate?
No. Am I supposed to ask you a question now? Okay.
Yeah. Self-care ritual.
Self-care ritual. I meditate. So I usually I have a mat and I have a sunroom in the house.
Oh, nice.
So I'll just my mat is always laid out there because if I'm not meditating, my dogs will be meditating on there.
And do you use an app or a guided app, or
I use I just type guided meditation on YouTube and I listen to it.
Okay. Go to weekend activity.
I take my dogs to the beach.
Oh, which beach?
Siu Lam Beach, because that's a dog-friendly beach.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Go to app.
Audible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I was like going through a couple of apps that I use every day, and I was like, yeah, Audible.
What are you listening to / reading at the moment?
Lately, I've been listening to more Aspirations.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah, she
love
has an
her.
amazing voice as well. Very soothing.
She single-handedly probably picked me up when I was going through my darkest times. So I just recommend to
Very
anybody.
insightful.
Yeah, very insightful. Go to music playlist.
Early 2000.
Okay, a little bit of J-Lo, a little bit of Akon, like
Yes,
that. Okay. Go to snack.
Dates. I like dates. So I would dip the dates in chocolate and then sprinkle with sea salt and then just put it in the freezer.
Oh,
So good.
wow.
Because it just adds the richness to the chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the sea salt just make it
Yeah,
savory.
I like that little bit of salty and sweet.
You can switch it up. Like you can add another layer of peanut butters.
Yeah, okay. Go to book.
It switches from time to time, but there's this one book I always go to. It's called Life After Google.
Okay.
So the same writer, the previous book that he wrote was Life After Television.
Yeah.
And if you put it side by side, you will see that Life After Television actually sort of like a prophecy. Like it talks about how with that invention, how human changes.
Yeah.
Like their lifestyle and everything with technology. Then Life After Google basically talks about how humans is going to live into the next 20 years. And I always find it to be very interesting. Sort of like a past versus future, like past, present, future sort of insight.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's very adult.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Just ending out our little session together. What is next for you?
What is next for me? I am writing a book.
Oh, you should go-to book should be yours. That will be my answer. What is the book about?
I think after further, I've really my biggest lesson out of it is not running. It is not running related. It is about how living with your trauma and how to be a better person, how to live life to your fullest potential can be so so fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to sum up my journey with a book. And the book isn't about me,
Yeah.
but it is about how I believe it is hopeful to take up challenges and come out of it feeling like you can conquer anything that you believe yourself can do.
Wow.
Yeah.
When can we expect this book?
Next year,
Oh,
where I'm writing
okay.
it. We're working on it. I can't believe I put it out. You
Now-
asked me that question.
Now we're holding you accountable.
It was supposed to be a secret, but
Where can people find you on socials?
Vriko Kwok.
Okay.
Yeah, on Instagram. Too old for TikTok.
Thank you so much, Vriko Kwok. I super am so excited about your book. And I find you so inspiring. I love your story. You're such a inspiring light. And I can't wait to see what's in store next
Thank
coming
you
up.
so much for having me. Takes
Thank
one
you.
to know one.
Yeah, thank you. Ciao.